Good morning, Jonathan, and all the CCFM listeners. This is Claire Brauer again for part 2 of my story of hope. And yesterday morning we left off where I had shared about how the Lord had asked me to do the Passover dinner, which we'd never kept in our family. But he said, can you keep it with a way that points to my son? And I remember that I'd bought a book for my son when I was pregnant with him, and it had just sat on my bookshelf for all these years, never been used. And I went and got the book and said to my husband, would you mind if we read it, but did it this way, which is the Messianic way? So he was, I don't know about this, but he said, okay, let's do it. And it was a very special meal. We invited a few friends over, and he then led the Seder, which is a very ordered meal. And as he was reading the book and explaining, going through all the different cups and the symbolic meanings and the scriptures, every single item on the order and the different things that you have on the table, and there's a lot of them, pointed to Yeshua as the Son of God, Jesus as being God's Son. And you could just in the spiritual see the scales falling off his eyes and the light pouring in. And I got so excited as he got excited, but I kept very quiet. I didn't confront him later that evening. I just let the Lord do what he was doing with him, and believe me, that's totally against my personality. I normally am in your face asking questions, so how did you feel? What happened? And the Lord really impressed upon me, just back off, just leave him. So it was quite a few months later this all happened end of April, and it was only in the August that I was now pregnant with my son, and we had been invited to a night to celebrate Israel. And after the event, somebody walked up to us and said to my husband quite directly, so what are you? What do you believe? Who do you think, Yeshua is? And my husband was quite taken aback. He was just not too sure how to answer. And I then took a risk and went, can I jump in here? Let me answer for him. I think what my husband is and what he would like, how he sees himself is as a complete Jew. And my husband looked at me. I said, because he has accepted that his Messiah has already come. And my husband went, yes, I like that. I do believe that Yeshua is the Messiah. I like that definition. I'm a complete Jew. And that was the first time that it was confirmed for me that is what he believed. And we actually then had our first conversation about this new big monumental change in his life. And I was still quite early stages of my pregnancy, but we found out not long after that I was having a little boy. And the Lord gave me the name Noah, because Noah means, the actual name means peace and comfort, rest. But in the Bible, Noah's story is about how he is the redemption of mankind. God used Noah for the redemption of mankind. It's a picture of his redemption later on. And so my son Noah was the symbol of my family's redemption. And his name has also got a very powerful meaning for where we were in our life at that time. And it was a time in our marriage where the Lord really came in and healed all the broken pieces, because we'd had quite a rocky start, and the enemy, the accuser, came and whispered such lies to me that I, for a long time, did not believe that my husband really loved me, but more that he was trapped because we were having a baby and he was just doing the right thing, but he didn't really love me. And it was during this time that the Lord just healed all of that and really made me fall in love with this husband that I had. And it was a very sweet time of just it was almost like falling in love for the first time properly, and then with this baby on the way. And Noah was actually a natural birth after cesarean, as my daughter had landed up being an emergency cesarean, and then I had Noah as a water birth in Genesis Clinic up in Joburg after a cesarean. So it was a redemptive birth as well, because it was very, very healing for me. And he was actually born on the Passover. It was a couple of days after Passover. It was still during the Passover that Noah was born. So that's again another symbolic thing of the timing of his birth, that year it happened to fall on his birthday. It was not long after that, a couple months later, very new in the faith, which it was incredible to see how my husband's faith was so much richer and deeper than mine was, and he surpassed me very quickly just because of all the grounding that he had growing up in the Jewish faith. But when Noah was a couple of months old, my husband was retrenched from his job, as the company that he had been working for quite a few years had merged with another company, and then that new company, only after a year, did a whole lot of restructuring, and they had the policy of last in, first out. And so Alon landed up not having a job and started looking around. And the Lord very quickly moved us out of Joburg back to Cape Town, which doesn't often happen. And it was at a time when I had just started to settle down and felt like I'd started to put roots down in Johannesburg, as I was, even though I wanted to go, leaving Cape Town was never really what I wanted long term. And so it was just such it was beyond my dreams to be able to come back, but the Lord brought us back. And it was during this time when the Lord really started speaking to my husband about laying down his biggest fears and giving it to him, giving him all the idols in his life. And giving God our finances was an easy one, and asking him for the direction we should go in our lives and on all the decisions, also an easy thing to do. To look to the Lord for our provision, trust him with that, was also something that all of these things are ongoing processes, but it's an easy one to know we should be doing that. But the Lord started speaking to my husband and to me about laying down our fertility, and that was really a difficult thing to lay down, and we kept questioning, really, Lord, do we really have to give you this? But he made it so clear, I want that. That is the one thing that because we went into marriage with an unplanned pregnancy, it was almost the elephant in the room, and it was my husband's biggest fear. And the Lord was like, I want that. I want you to hand that to me. Will you trust me with this? And it was a case of, yes, Lord, and then, no, I'm going to take it back. And okay, Lord, I trust you. I'm going to take it back. Can we really trust you with this? But both of us decided that we need to be obedient. And we were in complete agreement that this is what the Lord wants us to do. We're going to, in faith, go ahead. And my son was about 16, 17 months old when I fell pregnant with my little girl. We found out we're having a little girl, and it was around that time when I fell pregnant that I didn't want to have another cesarean, and I wasn't too sure how the natural birthing world was like here in Cape Town, and I wasn't really confident in doing a home birth. That we decided, I actually came up with this idea of, can we please go back to Joburg just for the birth, because I really want to use the same birth team that I had this incredible experience with my son. But I thought, gee, that's insane. Who does that? But and who's going to support that? What my husband's going to think I'm crazy. But he knew how important this was to me, and he said, well, if we can find accommodation and we can make it happen, then let's do it. If that's what's going to give you peace, then I'll support you. But at 26 weeks, I went into labor. I actually just thought I had a bladder infection, drove myself to hospital, and I got there, and the doctor checked me out and said, you're in early labor, you're starting to dilate. And it was such a shock. I'm like, what? I'm not ready to have this baby. And that's when it hit me, how special my own birth was, because now it came home. It was real, it was tangible, just how miraculous it was that I had survived, as I was not ready to have this baby. But my doctor said to me, well, who's your doctor? And I said, well, I've got a doctor up in Johannesburg. And he's like, oh, you're here on holiday. I'm saying, no, I live here, but we are flying back to Johannesburg for the birth. And he looked at me a bit oddly, and he was like, really? But after explaining all my reasons of why I wanted to actually go back, then he was very, very supportive. And then we managed to stop labour, and he supported me up until I flew up to Joburg at almost 38 weeks. I was in my 37th week when I flew up. We stayed in Joburg just over 2 weeks and came home with a newborn baby. And my husband and children followed by train. And then, after a week after they arrived, well, I had Lilia, and then we left another week. So I was up there for 3 weeks, they were up there for 2. And it was also just a great time of saying goodbye to all our friends that we'd left behind, and just to have them all come around us and support us. It was a very special time. And her birth was incredible. It was an amazing birth in the water, again at Genesis, with my midwife, who's a lovely Christian lady that prayed with me in labour, and that was so very important for me. And it was the first time that I had ever used a doula in my birth, and it was so instrumental in my journey, as I now am training to become a doula. But it was my first glimpse as what a doula does. I'd never heard of a doula, and she was just so incredible. And it made such a huge difference that I was like, that's it, I'm ruined. I can never have birth again without having a doula with me. Anyway, so we were back in Cape Town, and the following year fell pregnant again with a baby. This time we decided we were not going to, we decided to keep it a secret and not find out if we're having a boy or a girl, as we just decided it doesn't really matter. We have, 2 boys, 2 girls. Whether this one's a boy or girl, it really doesn't matter. Just to go back, the little girl that was born, her name Lilia means what belongs to me belongs to God. And it was just, Lilia, our 4th one, is our symbolic handing over our fertility and going, Lord, I trust you to you are in control of our family size. So fast forward to now, I'm pregnant with number 5, and it was shortly after I was married. My mother-in-law, she's Jewish, but she's not a believer, and so she went to a fortune teller to find out, is my son and this girl, is their marriage going to work, or are they going to get divorced? And there was a fortune told over that that we were going to have a certain amount of kids, and it was going to be, at a certain order. And so according to this, I was supposed to have a boy. But we prayed when my husband got saved and said, Lord, you're sovereign. We just break any curses spoken over our family, and we trust you with whatever this will be, that it's for your honor and your glory. And we trust you that you have removed any evil word spoken that's not from you. And again, we're out of time, so I'm going to leave it there and pick this up again tomorrow.